Recording will start now. So let me welcome you all to the EGROW Friday webinar series. As you know, we started the series in 2021. It was almost after the second wave of the crisis. We realized that so much is happening, but we are not able to meet and interact. And we have been very lucky. We have done almost 300 webinars since then. So we are very, very fortunate that we have had the best of minds from our own country and from across the world come and speak to us. We are in the process of Viksit Bharat. And as you know, EGROW Foundation played an important role in preparation of some of these documents for Niti Aayog. We feel very fortunate about it. But we also feel that if we have to have Viksit Bharat, instead of learning from outside the country, we could learn from each other. Everybody's success within the country is a matter of learning for the others, and anybody's failure within the country is also a matter of concern for learning for others what to do and what not to do. So in that context, we started this series of learning from the states. And I'm so happy to tell you that we have had experience, learnings, sharing of knowledge with some of the states. They're very important. We have also had series of sessions on Punjab where we felt that there is so much to learn from the failure of Punjab. Why Punjab, which was number one in 2000, has come down the scale to number 14? And what is that the reforms have stalled? And what is that the reforms are taking place in other states? In that very context of learning from each other, we have today Meghalaya, and we are going to learn about Meghalaya. And to learn about Meghalaya, I especially requested Professor Bhagirathi Pandaji to come and share with us about Meghalaya and to also guide us as to what team can come and speak to us. So I'm very proud to share with you that he has helped me identify the team and he himself has agreed to chair the session. And I feel so good that by the end of this 90 minutes, the type of team that he has brought together, we are going to be very well aware of the economy of Meghalaya. Let me briefly introduce you to the speakers for the day. The session is being chaired by Professor Bhagirathi Pandaji. He is currently the Professor of Economics, Nehu University, that's the Northeastern Hill University, and Honorary Director of ICSSR, NERC Shillong. Earlier, he was also the Dean of the School of Economics, Management and Information Sciences, and Head of the Department of Economics, Northeastern Hill University, Shillong. And during 2008 and 9, he was on the faculty of IIM Shillong. I may be teaching at IIM Shillong this October to December. I'm looking forward to that opportunity. Shillong is such a beautiful place. Professor Panda is an Asia Fellow of Asian Scholarship Foundation, Bangkok, and in his capacity worked as a visiting fellow in the Thammasat University, Thailand, and Asian Institute of Technology, Bangkok, during the year 2003. He has more than 30 years of teaching and research experience in different universities and colleges of our country and abroad, and has also published a number of research articles in different national and international journals. He has been a member of the expert committee on effective initiatives under Mahatma Gandhi Narega administration, Ministry of Rural Development, Working Committee on Capacity Building in Manrega, Ministry of Rural Development, and expert committee to formulate research methodology for studies on various aspects of Manrega. He has also undertaken a number of research projects on topics such as Active East Policy and transaction costs, Manrega, urban informal sector, rural non-farm employment from agencies like Ministry of External Affairs, GOI, Government of India, Ford Foundation, and UNDP India, and VV National Labour Institute, Noida, and UGC India. So very well researched scholarly work which Professor Panda has done. We have requested with Dr. Krishna Chauhan to join us as a panelist. He is a former member of the Meghalaya State Planning Board and former executive committee member of the Indian Economic Association. Currently, he is the coordinator of IQAC at Buddha Bhanu Saraswati College, Shillong. Dr. Chauhan has contributed significantly as advisor, secretary, and member in various educational, socio-cultural, and religious organizations across Meghalaya. He has also served in multiple committees and capacities in colleges and NEHU, fostering academic and community development. Professor Veronica is an associate professor in the Department of Economics at NEHU. Prior to her current role, she served as an assistant professor in the department at Basic Sciences and Social Sciences at NEHU and as a lecturer in the Department of Economics at St. Anthony's College, Shillong. Her areas of interest and specialization include development economics, poverty analysis, intersocial group disparities, gender issues, and labor and employment issues. She is a life member of the Indian Economic Association and the Indian Society of Labor Economics. Our last speaker in the panel today is Professor Benjamin. Professor Benjamin is an associate professor and head of the Department of Tourism and Hotel Management at NEHU University. He has a significant professional background with over 18 years of experience in the academic and related sectors. He has extensive experience teaching various subjects including finance, management, economics, HR, marketing, entrepreneurship, and tourism. His areas of interest and specialization include management, entrepreneurship, impact assessments, tourism, and hospitality. He holds memberships in several prestigious academic bodies, including the Indian Chamber, Indian Commerce Association, Indian Tourism and Hospitality Congress, and the Northeast India Commerce and Management Association. He was recognized with the silver medal for Best Business Academic of the Year award at the 62nd All India Commerce Conference in 2009. With this panel, I hand over the session to Professor Bhagirathi Pandaji to take the proceedings further. Professor Panda, please.
Thank you so much, sir, Professor Singh, for that wonderful introduction and the prelude that you have given so that we can take here from and we can make an effective session with presentation, question answer, and also some kind of a concluding remarks from my side and also from your side. So let's begin with, friends, when we talk about any economy and want to analyze that economy, particularly its developmental dynamics, I think it's prudent, it's necessary today that we do it against certain contextualized theories, practices, approaches, and then some stylized facts, and then also some of the it's historical, geographical, and societal arrangements. And then subsequent, of course, in the context of Meghalaya, I would say that we also need to analyze, examine the economy of Meghalaya, in a what I call actually the PEEP architecture. PEEP in the sense finance, infrastructure, innovations, institutions, and policy. So in a PEEP infrastructure is very, very important in the context of Meghalaya. And of course, if there is time, I hope some of our panelists will have some kind of a SWOT analysis just to tell us exactly what needs to be done, what is our strength, the strength of the Meghalayan economy, and all these things. So, under such kind of an arrangement, let me just start with, the current concept of development against which we need to examine, any economy for that matter, and so also Meghalaya economy here itself. The current concept of development, as all of us understand, is sustainable development, and it has evolved during the last 8 to 9 decades. Along with that, also the approach to development has evolved from income approach to capability approach, and today under the G20 arrangement, Government of India has given us that life approach to sustainable life approach to development, which is all about lifestyle change for environment. So from income to capability, now the life approach to development. And along with that, also the establishment space through which developmental imperatives requirements are realized, that also has evolved during the last, I think, 8 to 9 decades. From market to market, today we have market plus government plus community and civil society. These are the 4 important establishments which are there itself in the development space through which the imperatives of development are being undertaken. And in the context of a state like Meghalaya, I think the institution of market, the institution of government, and particularly community and civil society is very, very important. So this is the evolving nature of the concept or the theory, the approach, and the establishment space of development. So we need to keep that in mind while we analyze and examine and evaluate an economy like Meghalaya. Then that's the initial part. And as I said, we also have to have that SGS arrangement, that history, geography, and the society. And analyzing an economy like Meghalaya, being oblivious of its history, geography, and its societal context, I think will not be fulfilling, will not be efficient. And the third thing, as I said, there are very emerging stylized facts with respect to income, structural transformation, employment, physical and social infrastructure. So these things also need to be brought in and discussed. And as I said, finally, I think we also need to analyze the Meghalayan economy and its developmental, dynamics. I think in a architecture, as I call the PEEP architecture, the finance, innovations, institutions, and then establishment and policy. So these are some of the, I think, prelude which I thought let me share with all of you. And having said that, let me just give a little bit of introduction with respect to where does Meghalaya stand when it comes to the current development concept and practice, that is sustainable development. And as we all see, we go by this Niti Aayog's latest report on Sustainable Development Index, SDG Index, that is 2023-24. I think Meghalaya is placed, I think, is placed at the bottom in all the northeastern states. Its score, its SDG score is 61, whereas the All India average is around 71. And although in absolute figure, I'm saying it has undergone a progression. It has progressed from being 52 in 2018. Today it is 63. But other states have done better compared to Meghalaya. That's why today it is on the bottom. Then there are there are in 4 of the important individual or specific SDG goals. Like, for example, goal number 4, that is quality of education. Goal number 8, that is decent work and economic growth. Goal number 15, that is life on land. In all these 3 important goals, Meghalaya is at the bottom in the NER, in the northeastern region. Similarly, it's the second worst when it comes to goal number 1, that is no poverty. Goal number 2, that is zero hunger. And goal number 7, that is affordable and clean energy. And goal number 11, that is sustainable cities and communities. So that means overall, when you see when we try to understand the sustainable development arrangement in Meghalaya, then it's not a very happy situation. And in total, out of the 15 SDG goals against which I think we're all discussing the sustainable development arrangement, in 11 goals, Meghalaya is below the national average. Assam and Meghalaya, both the states, in 11 goals are below the national average. Out of 15 goals, in 11, they are below the national average. So that speaks of the fact that Meghalaya as an economy I think doesn't do much, I think, better when it comes to the sustainable development, sustainable development and its specific goals. Now, the next thing is all about growth, employment, and the structural transformation. We have all seen that the economy of Meghalaya, although recently it's experienced, for the last 2-3 years, it's experiencing very high growth. And then when it comes to, I think, capital expenditure, it has almost doubled between the period 2018 to 2022. So there has been doubling of capital expenditure. And after the GST arrangement came in, the situation of almost all the northeastern states have substantially improved, and so also Meghalaya. So that is an improvement when it comes to the fiscal situation, although there are challenges there itself. And then, when it comes to infrastructure also, during the last 6-7 years, we experienced massive increase in expenditure and also, I'm saying, creation of infrastructure in Meghalaya. So these are all some of the positive things which very recently has started. But I think these things would take time to reflect, I think, to pay results. As you all understand, infrastructure has a lag. So I hope in days to come, we'll have better economic outcomes in terms of income and employment. But as it stands, if you see the, CAGR, for the period 2012 to 2022, I think Meghalaya's performance has been the worst in the whole northeastern region. It has been just 1.58%. It's extremely low, the worst in the northeast. And then when you look at actually its structural transformation, the around 50% of its workforce are engaged in agriculture, whereas agriculture contributes maximum, I think, 23% to its GDP. So here is this mismatch having its own implications for the development of Meghalaya, the economy of Meghalaya. Particularly, I think it speaks about the low productivity of agriculture in Meghalaya. And there has not been any substantial improvement when it comes to expansion of industry or employment in industry. In fact, the industrial employment has been one of the lowest in the region, in the northeast. Then when it comes to employment, historically, Meghalaya's unemployment, I think rural as well as urban, historically, I think for the last almost 15-16 years, it was very low. But I think if you go by 2023-24 PLFS data, I think the urban unemployment in Meghalaya around 14 point something, and that is the highest in the northeastern region. Even surpassed Nagaland, which was at one point of time having around 18%, 19% kind of unemployment. And rural unemployment stands also as a very high level, that is 5.4%. I think it is the second lowest in the, second highest in the northeastern region. So overall, when we see, I think, the sustainable development realizations, the growth dynamics, the employment, particularly the labor market situation, it doesn't give a very, very encouraging picture when it comes to the Northeast. Although, as I said, very recently we are experiencing signs of revival, signs of growth, and signs of improvement in the field of infrastructure and in the field of, I think, fiscal arrangements. So against this backdrop, I think we have with us three of our very, I think, comparatively young panelists, and deliberately, I think I have chosen them because they have the experience of teaching, research, as well as also, I think all three of them have worked with the communities, have worked with the government, and that gives them, I think, a unique place to understand the development dynamics in Meghalaya from a holistic perspective. So with these words, I welcome, I think, all our three panelists so that they can interact with the, with all of us. And in this context, I first invite, I think, Dr. Veronica to make her presentation and enlighten us. So it's over to Veronica. Dr. Veronica,
thank you, Prof. Sir. Thank you, Professor Panda. Good evening to every one of you. It's a pleasure, it's an honor to be here, to be a part of this prestigious EGROW webinar series. So, I'm very happy to present something about my own state, the state of Meghalaya. My presentation will be on an overview of the state of Meghalaya, its economy, in terms of income and employment. And so Professor Panda has made the job easy for me. He has highlighted many of the issues that I will also highlight. So what I'll do is that I'll just put the data on the screen to basically say the same thing. And with an overview of the economy in terms of facts and figures, then I would like to flag some issues that plague the economy of the state of Meghalaya. I hope it is visible.
Yes, yes, visible. I hope it's visible to everyone. Okay, it's visible.
So,
yes, sir,
as
visible.
I said, this is an overview of income, employment, and structural transformation. So, first of all, we look at the state domestic product of Meghalaya at constant prices. And between 1980-81, since the time when consistent data are available, to 2019-20, the economy has grown by about 10 times. And currently, the size of the economy is about 59,000 crore of rupees at current prices. This is as per the latest data released by the National Accounts Division. So this is as on 1st August 2025. And at constant prices, it's about 33,000 crores. So yes, the growth rate has been one of the lowest among all the states during the period 2011-12 to 24-25, about 4.1% per annum. However, in the last 3 years, the growth rate of GSDP at constant prices has clocked an average of 10% per annum. So it's a very encouraging sign indeed. And it seems that the vision of the Chief Minister of Meghalaya to have a 10 billion US dollar economy by 2028 is within our reach. So I think we will get there. And with regards to the average income in the state, the per capita income at current prices, it stands at about rupees 1,57,000. And in the last 3 years, it has grown by about 9% per annum. So yes, the economy of Meghalaya is growing. There is no doubt about it. Now, we will look at the structural transformation that has taken place in terms of income, and 37% of the state income in 1980-81 came from agriculture and allied sectors, including mining, and 44% from services, 19% from the industry, which that is the secondary sector, which includes construction. And currently in 22-23, what we have, 63% of the state income comes from the tertiary sector, that is the services, and the share of agriculture has come down to just 18%, and the share of the secondary sector remains more or less constant. So primary sector has shrunk and the service sector has dominated. This is just like in the all India picture. This is what happens across the country, that the service sector has dominated the economy in terms of the income. Then in terms of employment, we look at the occupational distribution of workers right from 1991. In the census, 76% of the workers were in the primary sector, were in agriculture and allied activities, and 20% in services. By 2001, share of the primary sector has come down to 55%, services 33%, and by 2011, share of primary sector was still at 64%. Not much change is there in terms of employment. So we have seen there has been change. There has been a shift in terms of the composition of the state income, but in terms of employment, not much has changed. So the primary sector remains a very substantial employer in the state of Meghalaya. We look at the share of the service sector at 32% and compare it with the share of the service sector in income. 63% of the income comes from the service sector, which employs about 32% of the workers. So there's that mismatch between the contribution of the service sector to the state income and to employment. So as we know, agriculture productivity is low, and in most cases it is subsistence agriculture, it is primitive agriculture with a lot of disguised unemployment. So this is the current state of our economy in terms of employment. Now, where do the workers work? So this is in 2019-20. I'm sorry, I haven't had time to do the calculations for the latest round of survey, but I guess that between 2019, 2023, 24, I think not much has changed. 53% of the workers are in crop and animal production. So in these 15 major activities, we have 95.6% of workers. The source of data is PLFS. I've written there in the bottom of the screen. This is from PLFS based on the National Industrial Classification. So these are the sectors. And we look at education. Education is a major provider of employment. 6.24% of the workers are in the education sector. And we know also most of the graduates go to teaching after they pass, and the avenues for employment in other sectors are very limited. We look at the health sector. Health sector employs less than 1% of the workers. So there is so much scope there. We know from NFHS, the health outcomes, the health indicators in Meghalaya are poor. And so there is so much scope to employ more people in this sector, you know, in order to improve the healthcare delivery. And so we have construction as another major employment. And these are the sectors of employment. Look at public administration, about 4%. This has come down. Earlier, it was substantial, but this has come down to about 4% in the total workforce of the economy. So as I said, very limited avenues of employment. In just these 15 sectors, we have 95% of the workers. Then we look at the main source of income of the households. We see that if we look at the rural areas, you have the self-employed in agriculture. Those are the cultivators and other self-employed in non-agriculture. Basically, these are own account workers who own their farms or who work in their own family enterprises. And we look at the proportion of casual laborers. So about 32%, if we add those casual laborers in agriculture as well as in non-agriculture, 32% of the households in rural Meghalaya depend on casual labor from for their livelihood. Then we know that the service sector contributes a lot to the state income, as I've said earlier, and also it contributes 32% of the total employment. And so this is out of the total service sector employment. Okay, out of the total service sector employment, public administration and defense contributed 42% in 93-94. And now it has come down to 11%. So out of the total service sector, public administration and defense contributes only 11% now. So public sector has shrunk in terms of providing employment to the people of the state. Then education has increased. The blue bar is for 93-94, and the orange bar is for the current one. 20% of the total service sector employment is in education. So, but then in the income we see public administration and defense provides about 20%. Currently, that is 2019-20, 20% of the income from the service sector. Remember, out of the total GSDP, 63% comes from the service sector. Now, out of that 63%, 20% of that is from public administration and defense. And then, of course, the largest is trade, hotels, and restaurant. I think Dr. Benjamin will have more to say on this in terms of the growth of the tourism, sector. So, you know, the revenue expenditure of Meghalaya in the latest budget, the budget estimate is about 20,000 crores, right? And GSDP is about 59,000 crores. And so about 34%, I mean, the revenue expenditure of the government of Meghalaya is about 34% of the GSDP. So the point is that the state of Meghalaya is hugely dependent on the public sector. And this is the percentage distribution of workers by broad status of employment. 43% are the own account workers. And what we see is that here in Meghalaya, these are owners of small businesses or small farms. That is the majority of cases. And 16% are regular wage or salary earning employees, and 31% is a huge share of casual laborers. So this is the percentage distribution of workers. The other slide that I showed regarding this distribution is the proportion of households, the distribution of households by the main source of income. So coming to unemployment rates, I have just highlighted here the unemployment rate of the youth and of the educated persons for those who have completed 15 years and above. So this is taken from the PLFS 2023-24, which is the latest. And due to paucity of time and in the interest of space, I did not include a comparative slide here for other states. One can refer to the PLFS report. It's available. Anyone can download it. We will see that unemployment rates in Meghalaya are on the higher side, higher than most of the states in India. So youth unemployment is a concern, and also unemployment rates of those who have completed higher education. So those who have completed higher education are more likely to be unemployed than those who are illiterate and those who completed just primary level of schooling. And this is a worrying fact, because it brings despair to the youth. You know, they go for higher education, but the probability of them getting a decent job is very low. Then, summing up, in this overview of the economy of Meghalaya, what we see is that, yes, there has been high growth, especially in recent years, but employment avenues are very limited. Unemployment rates are high. And so if there are high unemployment rates, we can say that the growth is not inclusive. The growth is not inclusive. Why? Because the unemployed are excluded from the production and consumption processes. They are not part of the production of goods or the production of services, and they do not have income. And so they are excluded from the consumption processes. So if a large proportion of the population are excluded, if they do not reap the benefits of growth, then, you know, growth will be unsustainable. If our youth do not get employment, then growth will not be sustainable. You know, it will lead to social problems, social issues. So in the economy of Meghalaya, we have many vulnerable sections, marginalized sections. We have a very high proportion of people who are multidimensionally poor. So according to the latest report, the multidimensional poverty index, 28% of people in Meghalaya are poor. So this is the third poorest state after Bihar and Jharkhand. Then as we have seen, we see a large proportion of casual workers. So there is a decent work deficit, large decent work deficit. And then own account workers who are self-employed persons in tiny enterprises. So these are vulnerable sections. And we know in Meghalaya, prices are high and average earnings are low. PLFS report also gives the average earnings of casual workers per day is less than 500 rupees. It's 400 rupees something currently. And so if you think of it in a month, Average earnings is about 10,000 rupees for majority of the people, even for those who are educated. They are employed as contractual workers, and earnings are very low. And when earnings are low, they cannot provide that demand, which will boost the economy, which will lead to further growth. And so this is an issue of concern. Low earnings of the majority of the people, especially the youth who have recently joined the workforce. So therefore, there is a need, an urgent need for policy to make the growth inclusive. Excuse me. How will we make the growth inclusive? We should take care of the human resources of the state so that the youth of the state can take advantage of and they can benefit from this high growth. Now, if they lack the skills, if they lack the education, if they lack the capacity to grab the opportunities that this growth is generating, then they will not be able to reap the benefits of growth. See, economic growth, economic development should be for the people. It should be for the people. That's the end and the means of development. So therefore, now when we look at the PGI, the Performance Grading Index of schools in Meghalaya in 2025, it's the lowest among all the states in India. This is the lowest. The score is 417.9. And there are about 6 domains. Yes, there are 6 domains for this performance grading index. And half of this score, about 200 plus, comes from equity. What is equity? It's about providing education for girls, providing education to tribals. So we know we are a state that follows the matrilineal society, and also it's a state predominantly tribal. And so therefore, here to get that score of 200 something in this PGI, it's not an achievement, it's automatically. So in the other domains, like in the learning outcomes, in the access, which is about the enrollment rate, about the retention rate, the completion rate, performance is dismal because the dropout rates are very high, right? In terms of infrastructure and facilities, in terms of governance management, in terms of teachers' education, in all the other 5 domains, the performance is abysmal. So how do we expect our youth to be gainfully employed? How do we expect them to seize the opportunities that so much investment in infrastructure is being undertaken now? Many schemes are being implemented. And so our youth, majority of them are not in a position to take advantage of those. And we look at the annual status of education report. Only 19.2% of class 8 children can do division. So the foundational numeracy skill that is lacking. Class 8 children can not even do division. So naturally they will drop out because they cannot cope. Class 3 children, only 22.8% of them can do subtraction. And class 8 children, that is upper primary school, 25% of them cannot read a class 2 level text. These are shocking statistics. It's very, very shocking. It's unbelievable, but this is the fact. This is born from survey. These are the figures that are not manufactured. So this is very worrisome. So in this scenario, that high growth, who is it for? Who will benefit from that? So therefore, there is a need to really take care of this aspect. Then all the investments, many schemes, focus, prime, many things that are happening, they will really benefit the people of the state. So with that, I conclude my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Veronica, for that wonderful presentation, particularly highlighting the skewed nature of the structural transformation of Meghalayan economy and its implications for development, and particularly, in fact, towards the end, you supplemented it with the kind of inadequacy and the poor state of social sector, particularly education, with the data, PGI, and all that. So wonderful. That makes a very wonderful presentation with lots of implications for development. And I think there will be many questions also. But then what I think with the due permission from Dr. Charan Singh, I think we can take all these questions in one go after finishing all the three presentations. So anything, Dr. Singh, you would like to say right now at this moment, or we will go to the next?
I'm with you. I'm with you. Let's go to, we'll have question answers at the end.
Okay, thank you so much. So now let me invite our next panelist, Dr. Benjamin, I think who has tremendous experience of classroom teaching, research, and also has significantly, very poignantly worked with the government of Meghalaya. So Benjamin, the floor is yours. The floor is yours.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, yes, very much. Yes, yes.
First of all, I would like to wish a very warm good evening to all the esteemed members and colleagues in this particular webinar. In particular, I would like to thank the EGROW Foundation for having me, and Sir Panda for chairing this webinar. And also, I would like to say, like, when we look at the economy of Meghalaya in a very holistic manner, it is sometimes quite troubling. As a citizen of the country, and as a person who has grown up in Meghalaya, but also have seen the other parts of the country, India, and some countries abroad. When I look at my own state, sometimes I am quite a bit disillusioned. The reason being, the type of growth that we have and the type of growth that we are looking at for quite some time now is absolutely skewed towards money, towards wealth, and unequal distribution of wealth. But when we talk about holistic growth, inclusive growth, that is where we find alarming red flags. Just to drive home a particular point, and in terms of, I just continue from what Dr. Pala has presented just now, and what Sir Panda said earlier when he made his opening remarks on this webinar. You see, as a state government here now, we are talking about the US dollar 10 billion economy. And then the target is that we're going to achieve this by early 2028. The projections for 2025-26 in terms of the GSDP is that Meghalaya will have a GSDP of around 67,000 crores in 25-26. This is a projection. But the important thing to note here is that this is GSDP at current prices. So in most likelihood, if we look at this particular trend and we look at the next 2-3 financial years heading towards 2028, I agree with Dr. Pala to a certain extent that there's a good chance that the state will achieve the US dollar 10 billion economy, which basically means the doubling of the GSDP from the last 5 years to around 82,000 crores in the year 2028. But what we really look at in terms of development is GSDP at constant prices. It is quite clear, looking at the data, that although Meghalaya has been growing at a very impressive rate of around 10% for the last 2-3 years, which is actually very, very good. But if we are looking at growth in terms of constant prices, this growth will not even touch anywhere near the US dollar $10 billion economy. Now here lies the optics which we are looking at. The optics that we are looking at is that we want to show everyone that we have doubled the GSDP, but that is just optics. In terms of the ground situation, and when we look in terms of holistic growth, inclusive growth, we are having many problems. In terms of education, we are struggling, especially in terms of rural education, schools and colleges in our villages. In terms of infrastructure, there also we are, although things have improved now, lots of roads are being constructed as we speak, but still we are not having a proper airport which can land big Airbuses, so as to say. Rail connectivity is still a huge issue here in our state, although the state government is all ready for rail connectivity. But recently, our Honorable Chief Minister Conrad Sangma, he said something very important, that I am for rail connectivity, but if the people are not ready, we are not going to force it. Now, transportation is important for growth and to sustain growth. And this is one of the reasons why in the absence of real connectivity and proper airports, other sectors of the economy also, it tends to suffer. Like, for example, we have a lot of products here like broomsticks, and we have fruits, and we have a certain chunk of vegetables which we can send to other parts of the country. But we need proper transportation networks to do all of that. And Dr. Pala said earlier, the prices here are very high. One particular point is that the prices of vegetables here are pretty high. If you are from this part of the world, you just compare vegetables in Guwahati and vegetables in Shillong. Prices will be almost, in most cases, almost double to what we can in Guwahati. Now, these are questions that we are supposed to deal with, to answer. And there's not one fixed solution to all of this issue. But one of the solutions to this particular problem is that if we can look at real connectivity, which, to say frankly, till now, and at least for the next 2-3 years with this particular government, going by what the government has said, there's a very good chance that till 2028 we are not going to have real connectivity in Meghalaya, and then yet still we'll complain about so many issues like high prices of vegetables and other eatables that we are looking at. So this is the real issue that we are looking at in Meghalaya now. Do you look at optics, or do you look at substance? Do you look at something which is tangible, which is sturdy, which we can see on the ground, or do you just mark yourself? You see, what is the point of having or doubling your GSDP in 5 years in 2028 if half the population of the state are I mean, living such in miserable conditions? Even having 2 square meals a day is a big issue for them. They live in a state of an economy which is like, we can say in Meghalaya we have 2-3 levels of economy. Some people do very well, some people are very poor. As the years go by, this unequal distribution of wealth and income has been growing. Now, see, what I'm scared of as far as the economy of Meghalaya is concerned is that we will have lots of optics to show, but on the ground, people will continue to suffer. This is what we have to deal with. We have to look at education, we have to look at health, we have to look at infrastructure, so that growth has to reach everyone, and it has to be inclusive. And why is this such an issue when it comes to the economy of Meghalaya? Because, you know, more than 70% of the population of Meghalaya as of today, they are below 35 years of age. According to Government of Meghalaya data, around 12 lakh of them, they are of the youth, they are in the age group of 15 to 29 years. Now, these are huge numbers that we are looking at. And looking at the problem of unemployment that we have, right now, this entire idea of holistic growth, inclusive growth, is only a myth. It's very difficult for me, at least, to see, when you look at data, the development on the ground, the government policies and initiatives, as to how exactly we're going to carry everyone around. Because when society is so lopsided, where one part, a small part, are rich and doing very well, and the other part, the major part, they are very poor and struggling to survive, even with 2 square meals a day. What type of society are we looking at? What type of state, what type of country are we looking at, if we cannot carry everyone along in this bandwagon of optics of growth and development? So very quickly, while I look at these issues that I have, very quickly, I have some of the interventions or the solutions that we can look at, so that somehow things will improve. If not in 1-2 years, maybe in 5-6 years. Some of these interventions should be looked at in a long-term perspective, so that we can really see what we can do in terms of development. One key area which we really have to invest is agriculture. Around 55-57% of the population, they depend on agriculture for livelihood. And then according to some, the number is more than that. So they depend on agriculture for livelihood, and they practice agriculture. But the contribution of agriculture to the gross state domestic product is only around 25 or 26% as of today. So many people are dependent on agriculture, but it contributes pretty less to the state domestic product. This is where we have to look at at solutions, because now many youth, they look at their parents and the state of their parents in the context of agriculture, and they don't want to continue agriculture. They want to do studies, they want to come to the city, they want to go to the towns and look for jobs. No one wants to stay in the villages anymore. So, and when that happens, then we have a situation that we are facing right now, very high and large scale urban unemployment in the cities and towns of Meghalaya, because the youth, they look at their parents and as farmers and the conditions that they go through, and no one wants to continue with agriculture. So this is where we really have to invest. Food processing is one area where we can really work. It is true the terrain of Meghalaya is such that we cannot do large-scale agriculture or farming. That is fine. But there are some niche areas that we can look at, like horticulture, floriculture. These are some of the areas that we can really look at and improve. Just to cite a small example, recently the government of Meghalaya had the Pineapple Festival in New Delhi. Grand success. So I was just asking around these farmer friends and people who know farmers in the far-flung areas of our state who grow pineapples. Primarily, they come from Rivhoi district, although you'll find it in other districts of the state as well. So I was just asking these farmers and these people that I know, when this sort of festival is being done in New Delhi, what is the benefit to these people on the ground? And some success stories and encouraging stories are there. They tell me, these farmers, that we have also benefited. These pineapples, which were showcased in New Delhi, and sometimes they were showcased in the markets in Dubai, these pineapples that are showcased over there, they were taken from us. And when they were taken from us, we got an economic return for that. But the question is this: what about scale? This time, the festival was on a much larger scale. Next year, if the state government does it again, what we need is actually interventions and networking on the ground through the value chain, the supply chain, in such a way that these people on the ground, they can really benefit from these type of initiatives. And it's not only about doing some exposition in New Delhi. It's about finding new markets, networking, MOU, expanding the market, so that these people and farmers who grow pineapples here, they will really benefit through maybe creation of cooperative societies or self-help groups on their part, so that they can really benefit, they can really grow. And it's very sad to say that the cooperative society concept in Meghalaya is like something which is not really doing well. Self-help groups are doing well to a certain extent in some area, but cooperative societies, somehow it's very difficult to get it going. for some, because of some factors and some reasons on the ground. But this is just a small example that I'm citing, that how we can really leverage from these things, and then our people can really benefit. Another intervention that we can look at is tourism. As of last year, tourism contributes around 6% to the state GDP. Now, 6%, 7% for a state like Meghalaya, which is, by the way, getting now around 14 lakh tourists per year. Although the majority are domestic tourists, we have still very few foreign tourists who come to our state. But if you count 14, 15 lakhs who come to Meghalaya every year, and then it contributes only 6, 7% to the domestic state, to the GSDP, I think this is somewhere we really have to do some soul searching and hard work. Because if you look at the numbers that come to Meghalaya, the population of Meghalaya itself today is around 35, 36 lakhs. 15 lakhs is almost half the population of Meghalaya. We have this floating population of tourists every year. So I believe proper planning, proper strategies, proper formulation of policy and implementation will help in at least doubling the contribution of tourism to the state GDP. And if we can do that, the benefits will be much more to the people who practice tourism over here. But then again, the major issue here is with tourism is that skilling. Skilling is a major issue over here because if we have skilled people on the ground who will provide the service, it'll be difficult to sustain this type of tourism that we are having right now. Although Meghalaya, I've been saying all the time, it's not a destination for mass tourism. Ours is a destination for other forms of tourism like ecotourism, specialized form of tourism. But somehow we are going the path of mass tourism. It has got plus and minuses. I'll not talk about that now. But the point here is that if communities at the ground are really to benefit from tourism activities through CBT and ecotourism, then skilling is the main issue over here. The good thing about the tourism policy of 2023-24 brought out by the state government just last year is that they have focused a lot on skilling, and they're trying their best to skill the people, especially in the rural areas. But I think there's still a lot to be done. We really need people on the ground who can work, skilled people. On top of that, we need people who can perform as supervisors and managers. And then we need entrepreneurs who will come and set up a new venture, a venture which will really help, the growth of tourism sector in our state. So then, of course, in the end, somehow we need a lot of hand holding for these youth and entrepreneurs, especially the budding entrepreneurs. Why I say this, let me cite a small example. A practical problem that we are facing here in Meghalaya in the context of small business. I understand it's the age of competition. I understand everyone is supposed to compete. I understand India is an emerging market and everyone will compete in the entire Indian market. But I think it's high time that at the policy level, somehow the state government can think of having these incubators for small business. And we can divide them into certain specialized sectors, like, for example, incubators only for tourism and hospitality. Whereby we provide them a space where they can start, they can nurture, they can grow, and of course after they grow they can have their own permanent office space somewhere else, but at the beginning, so that they can have all the support. Because I have many people who run tour operations and travel agencies here who are my friends, and some of them are actually very close and well known to me. The major issue that they raise is this: we cannot compete with these big tour operators in Delhi, in Chennai, in Bombay, in West Bengal, in Calcutta. We cannot compete with them, right? So where lies the problem? The hand holding is actually missing over here. So maybe if you can have incubators to start with, and then in the same way, incubators for other types of service sector that we can think of, be it technology or even AI now. So if we can have all of this, because Meghalaya government has been investing a lot of money on a lot of things. Some of them are like commendable. Some of them we have to do a proper analysis before I can say anything more on that. But what is really required is to invest the money in the right places. And for me, some of the right places are business incubators. This is where you really have to invest. If you invest in incubators, you give hand holding, these enterprises will grow. After they grow, then they can compete with bigger organizations in Delhi, in West, in Calcutta, and in Chennai, and in Bangalore. And I might sound very protectionist, but actually I'm not being protectionist over here, because it is a job of the government to help the people when the people do not have ways and means to compete. That is one of the roles of the government, and the government of Meghalaya has to seriously look into this. I've been talking about this on many forums, but somehow I will not say nothing has happened, but and I do not want to take the credit also, but some things are moving in the right direction, but somehow that push that you really need for the economy, that is where we really have to look into. And if tourism grows, then agriculture will also grow, because this demand for agricultural raw materials and products, and also everything is interconnected. I don't have to talk about that. Now, I'm saying all these things, Professor Panda, because I'm looking at the economy of Meghalaya from the perspective of inclusive and holistic growth. And because there's no point achieving the targets in terms of money if people suffer in general. So I might sound very pessimistic, or maybe unrealistic at times, but actually I'm saying things in terms of what we see on the ground. We talk to people, we look at studies, we look at numbers, we look at data, and then at least for me, I come to these sort of conclusions. So this is what I have to say about the state of the economy of Meghalaya as of today, and what we have to do moving forward, all in the interest of holistic and inclusive growth. Thank you, Professor Panda. That's all from me.
Thank you, Benjamin. That was very eye-opening kind of a presentation, and based on your practical experience. And we are very happy that you could brought out these challenges. I would say that these are all challenges. And the whole objective of our webinar, I think, which Professor Charan Singh has rightly, I think, said in the beginning, is to sensitize, is to bring to the, I think, limelight, to bring to the forefront the issues that we are confronting, so that we can have a defined roadmap in future, in days to come, for the development of Meghalaya, for the Northeast, and for the whole country for that matter. So it was a wonderful presentation, and backed by your own perspectives, experience. And you have rightly said that the problem primarily is in the distribution side. The development is not inclusive. And you have rightly suggested that one of the important need is crop diversification. And then you have touched upon tourism, and how tourism also can be further strengthened. I think some kind of innovations needs to be there, undertaken there itself. There only one thing, of course, in my concluding remarks, I will explain that a little more. But as you see, there is a little bit of explanation is required here itself. Meghalaya, see, as I said in my introductory, address, that the developmental dynamics of Meghalaya is held, hostage to its history, its geography. I think it became an independent state in 1972, January 1972. And then the partition, it has its own, I think the whole Northeast, and for that much, Meghalaya, had a very sad situation of partition, which brought down, I think, the economy also to a great extent. And subsequently, the Act East policy, which all came as policy intervention as a macro developmental strategy to develop the whole Northeast, and for that matter, the Meghalaya. If you historical, as we have all been observing for the last almost 20-25 years, I think Meghalaya has been state lagging behind many of the states in the country, and even within the Northeast. Initially, people were all talking about the lack of capital, finance. Today, I think there is no lack of finance. The CD ratio of Northeastern states, and so also Meghalaya, is one of the lowest in the country. Banks are flooded with money. But you ask the banks why you are not, advancing this, capital that you have to this, to the, young budding entrepreneurs. They said, no, we don't have the demand. So we have finance, and very recently, last 6-7 years, during the last 6-7 years, the infrastructure is coming up. Innovation also has very recently improved. The innovation index as per 2021 data, I think Meghalaya's one is the second best in the Northeast. Around, it has surpassed the country's data. I think country's average, it's around 16 kind of a thing, the innovation score. So we don't have scarcity, we don't have any relative scarcity of funds now. We do not have problem, infrastructure, critical infrastructure is coming up. But primarily the problem lies in the institutional setting of Meghalaya. Professor Satish Verma in his chart has in fact brought out very beautifully some of these issues. The prime problem is with respect to the institutional deficiencies. It is with respect to the government in terms of, formal institution, informal institutions. So that's exactly where actually things need to be taken care of. And that in fact increases the transaction cost of doing business in Meghalaya, which is in fact actually because the property rights are not well defined. You have the cost of enforcement of contract is very high. So these are all issues actually which you need to sort out so that your capital gets converted to right kind of investment and it reaches people. And then the labor market, which is very, very poor today, very, very skewed, very, very poor, I think it gets the right kind of intervention, the right kind of direction. So with these words, I think let's invite our last panelist, and he is, I think, Krishna, you are there itself? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Krishna, you can now take the floors.
Yes. First of all, I would like to thank Professor Charan Singh ji and all the my very Sir B. Panda and all my members present here. Let me share the slides.
Krishna, some of these points which have already been discussed.
Yeah, that is what I was already thinking.
Keep them. Yeah.
Yes, I have to slightly rush with those points,
yes,
which has already been moved. First of all, I would like to thank the EGROW foundations. And since a lot of my slides contain, I thought maybe if I maybe beginning with it. So I wanted all the guests here and the members to have an outline, and then also to give a view on the different data that we are going through. See, sir, regarding the perceptions of the economy, I see as a planning board member, and I see many diseased factors that has been discussed about the economy of Meghalaya. I see myself from the prism of a doctor or the person who can create a prescription and think on the ground that how does it work on the ground. So that prescriptions, we as a member, when we were there, one question was always pricking us that problem, we know there is a problem, but what is the solutions and how we can move about and how can we make the ball rolling. So highlighting the various challenges, we know that there is a challenge of agriculture. We know that there is a challenge of infrastructure. We knew that there was a challenge of fund. GSDP was on the downturn. PGI was not very attractive. But however, if you look at the past two terms, and now this is the second term of the government, we realize that there were certain intervention in terms of economy that has taken place with the present format of budget or economic decisions. I would say that One second. If you look at the part of the budget projection annual growth rate, 12.7 down, because I'll be jumping some of the points. State domestic product expected to reach 85,000 crores by 2028. And that is exactly what is the $10 billion economy that we want to create. Definitely, I understand that this looks a little bit of utopian kind if you look at the present, current current scenario. But we have to put a target. We have to aim and we have to work for it. And that is where we want to send a vibe that yes, we have certain challenges, but we have to work for it. And now what are we doing is we are putting a lot of focus on infrastructures. Look at this scenario here that infrastructure development is earmarked 9,000 plus crores for the capital expenditure, which is sevenfold in 2017-18. I definitely understand some of my friends and even the state, there can be a pessimism that how does this particular fund earmark is really going to bring out real infrastructure on ground? That is no doubt. And how does the Shillong City project and the Smart City project, future ready urban space, will that be really adding to road connectivity, rural accessibility, even the border expansion strategy, whether this will be achieved or not? That is one question that we are being always tossed at. But another strategy that as a government, as a policymaker, as an interventionist or a curator, we have to see that this particular exercise was not present in the previous format. And we have seen that the kind of a holistic approach and the infrastructure, that is a capital that has been invested. Because time and again, when we go through the economic literature, we also say that fund is a crisis. Economy needs a capital. FDI is an issue. So let us assume that even if it is a centrally sponsored expenditure, centrally sponsored grants, ADB is sponsored, but there is a earmarked fund that is coming to the Meghalaya. This is a beautiful and positive sign for this state, because then only we can think of taking some holistic steps, which we are not taking so far, or maybe we were, put aside due to all these challenges. So I take this as a very, very optimism that whatever we had a challenge, whatever we had a problem, we are now at least one step positively forward with this developmental earmark that is there, whether it is in the terms of infrastructure, whether in terms of tourism. Let us take example of tourism allocation of 600 crores. I think all my panelists and including all the members here will agree that Shillong did not have a 5-star hotel, and many would mock many a time that, what type of state you have, even not a single 5-star hotel exists in your capital. But today we have a couple of it. And we are wanting more of it, including the 7-star in the Umiam. The kind of, brooding is going on, layout, DPR is on the process. So meaning to say, there is a positive wind of change that is coming with the investment and budget allocations. And that is why I say that in my presentation, I already thought that why not bring out those aspects that which we know that this allocation, this projections definitely going to add value and beauty to our present crisis and scenario. And everybody as panelists agree that it has to be holistic. It has to be inclusive. It has to be a people-centric, and even downline with the grassroots level, there should be a beneficiary. And I do agree with some of my panelists saying that it is not being biased, being local, vocal for local. But definitely that is the mantra that we feel that the budget allocation and the fund that has come up in the budget allocation definitely is going to do magic for us. Next, look at the agriculture also. 600 plus crores in agriculture. And it is increased by 43% from the last year. And I would definitely say some of my friends and those who are keeping track of the Meghalaya's different agriculture and farm and agriculture's market, and then the CM assurance program. This allocations, this particular program and policy is the front runner in protecting the farmers, welfare, giving the scope for the better markets, and also addressing to the market volatility and distress sale that is occurring. As my panelist friend rightly gave an example of pineapple, now we are going through the ginger and also other kind of local fruits and vegetables, indigenous food articles. Those are also in the pipeline. We wanted to take a advantage of this situation, because until and unless we are experimenting with certain kind of promotions, market, and then assurance and connectivity, understanding, and CM, Assure and the Farm Plus, this has exactly done a positive vibe for our farmers. And today we have a link, we have a format, we have a fair, we have a MOU where our farmers are also getting a platform, which was not true previously. And I being the in the experiencing for last 2 successive term in the scenario, I realized that this particular aspects, when I met a lot of many people at the ground level, at the village level, went for review meeting, people were very happy. People were saying that yes, something is happening. Earlier, we thought only state or the region where there's a coal and the limestone or the boulders, all the sands, they only can survive. And we were having some kind of a migrational aptitude that yes, we have to go there because the job is in that pockets. But today, with the agricultural and rural development allocations and then additional allocations from the various policies, this has created a hope among the farmers, among the people from each districts and approximately 40 plus blocks, that yes, one district, one product, one district, one allocations, one district, one reasonable thought. That means these migration from one district to the other district and from rural to city, this will be arrested, because this cropping, this allocations, this promises, this agriculture, this marketing, all this will definitely add value to each one of them. Then I will come down to power. Definitely, power is a big crisis, and those who have come down to city for any kind of a tourism also or visit also, winter is a great challenge for us. But here also now we have seen that power allocations has increased because government understands that there is a serious challenge with the power, and without power, without data, without connectivity, today we cannot insulate our economy and we cannot move forward. So some kind of intervention, some key initiative has, or encouragement has definitely come up. And now with the CM solar mission and the subsidy in various, solar product, it has added value. And we have seen that there is a decline or decrease in the loss of the transmissions, and there is a decrease in the technical and commercial aggregates. And definitely, though we are deficit remaining a significant challenge for us, but there is a scope of improvisations. That is why I say that economy definitely having those challenges, but now we find that there is a ray of hope sprouting out from certain pockets. And this is what we are positive about. Then already our previous panelists have already given a lot of details for the fiscal challenge and all. But what I want to add here is that, say, for example, Meghalaya is always blamed, or for that matter, whole Northeast is blamed that we are heavily dependent on the central and other schemes, no doubt. But previously, central and the other schemes, definitely we were depending upon, and there were various interventions going on. But the amount of developmental exercise and the initiative that has taken presently definitely give a vibe that yes, center and state definitely are in close proximity, in coordination, because it is, though it is borrowing is coming up, we are heavily reliant on the external funding, but this is definitely adding value to our help. And then though burden is increasing and the concern for the long-term financial challenges there, but we are also adding more private sector investment and state generated revenue opportunities, and expenditure also we are trying to curtail in various pockets. And then this is where we want to discipline our challenges. This is what I perceive also one of the points. Then another positive things that has also been mentioned is the CM Elevate schemes, Prime. This is giving a good platform to our youth, as already rightly mentioned by our panelists, that youth are a big prime mover, and they are the biggest, source of soul for the Meghalaya. But unless we don't have this program and the policies in place, making a right intervention is a challenge. And we understand today that around 12 plus lakh people, approximately youth between this category, if they need to be facilitated and they need to be engaged in some kind of vocation or skilling or some kind of job orientations or incubations, then these programs like Prime and Elevate has to go hand in hand with every stakeholders. That is why we find that this envision is definitely, and this promotion definitely is going to help bring about change and empower the people of Meghalaya to achieve economic growth. Then, if you look at the CAG report, no doubt we are lagging behind national GDP growth rate. We have the increased fiscal deficit challenge, but as the justification is given that India's accounting system also is a complex, and many times the frequent revision does not give the right pictures many a time. So what we find that though we are within the permissible limit within the 4% of the fiscal deficit, but we are trying hard, and definitely this intervention is definitely going to add into the fiscal domain and bring down the debt of the GSTP ratio to less than permissible limit of 40%, 43%. And also we want that almost central expenditure for the state Meghalaya has almost doubled, now almost to 2,000 crores. And outstanding debt definitely is 32.3, but it's still, we find that after correction revision, we are still within the 33.2 and 33.6 in 2022. Now, as somebody definitely mentioned about the comparison about the other with the northeastern states, I would say that definitely Meghalaya is the poorest and the worst performer in the northeast in many terms, whether in the national average, Prime Minister Advisory Council has a paper on that, and even the national income average we are falling poorly. Even the workforce dependency, we have the ratio of 60%. And one thing we have to understand that all these things, why we are having so far, because so far those intervention, those developmental policies, somewhere there were a gap between implementations, gap between churning out and the policy last mile, reach out. There were a gap. That is why today, if you see even the workforce, in spite of having big gap, big young force, people out there, people are not willing to work. That means there is some kind of a mental, aptitudinal challenge. People feel that why should I do this kind of a job? That means education-wise, reaching-wise, brainstorming-wise, and also motivating-wise, our workforce need to be given there. And definitely it has been mentioned, the education attainment we have less. That means dignity of labor, workforce, apart from the agriculture, we need to migrate them and skill them and bring about a parity within, at least first of all, to the national level. Then only we can think of bettering our economic positions. And also we find the sectoral allocation of the work shows that more than 50% of people are working in agriculture, and that is slowly deviating. That is slowly moving out services sector. And now that is good sign as of now, though in the statistical context now, it looks that, much of the change is not there, but we have to understand that we have last 50 years we have been going through. Now the changes slowly will definitely percolate down the grassroots level. So we have to give little time for brewing, little time for seasoning. And I think that time will be right when we will see more better figure out of it. Then as already mentioned that mining and quarrying, we have more, members engaged as compared to the national average, and labor market participation is lower in the urban. And Niti Aayog also report that 27% of the, almost 28% of the multidimensionally poor people are helming in this state. But that is where we are now having this particular discussions. That means what are the policy paralysis and institutional failure or institutional deficiency where we can churn out, where we can, fill in the blanks that how we can do this. So we find that this particular challenge also is to be taken care when we are making our policy or when we are discussing about the economy of Meghalaya. We also have to take into account about the healthcare. Still, we have very scanty health services. Community health center is still 93 primary health center, sub-center is still 4. Allocation expenditure on education, though it is increasing, but the quality is low. And recent household studies about the 32 blocks, we find, I would like to correct, it is a 5,000 per month as highlighted by the poverty and rural index now. So this tells a story. That means, had there been policy interventions, had there been no policy paralysis, had there been, previous exercise on the right frame, I think the report card that we are having today or the disease that we are facing today to be curing or experimenting or in the scenario we want to rectify, this would have definitely been controlled or at least brought to certain breathing space. But even looking at the motorable road and the road density, we find that till recently we have very poor penetrations. But with the infrastructural
can you just little conclude if this little,
voice?
Yeah, no. What I say, if you can little faster and
Okay, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That would be nice. So already 1.5 hours we have spent.
Yes, sir. So approximately this has, this has troubled the policymaker that where to start and what to do. And even when the present set of people, when they are doing certain exercise, they find that there is a, very minuscule impact at the timely. But if you look at the little figure that agriculture and farmer allocation 600 plus, infrastructure development approximately 3,000 crore, and health approximately 2,000 plus, and education 3,000, almost closer to 4,000, youth and development almost 2,000 crores, entrepreneur skilling 70 crores in the prime elevate, and then 1,000 crore allocation the chief minister skill mission. I think this talks volume. And then unless we are not putting this kind of effort at the economy corrections and our grassroots reaching out will be a distant dream. So we have to understand that what else has been, floating us, what else has been, dogging us down, that has been now identified. So first thing, at least we are able to diagnose our economy that these are the main challenges where we have to diagnose. And this diagnostic has resulted in this sectoral distribution, sectoral contribution, and sectoral investment proposal. And that is where, including the tourism also, as I mentioned already. So now another part. Now, how do we reach out, or we have reached to this advantageous position? How did we, able to diagnose? Because at present we find that there's a political stability and a governance as an added advantage. We have to understand that unless we have a political stability and the better governance, in spite of having all the best policy and the best brain in the field, I think the policy populations now is a great challenge. But present set of government, since the second term, they are into it, and they are having a very beautiful coordinations with the center relationship that has added value, and they are able to bring fund to the state. And this is where the collaborative developmental initiative at different level is possible, intervention is possible, dissection is possible, and reaching out at the grassroots level is possible. And also, if you look at one of the very beautiful silver lining to look at the present is the settlement of the border dispute. If you look at our economy, and we are being surrounded by the large tract of the borders. Our border dispute has always been the focal point where the border district has always been remained unattended and always been neglected. But today we are able to resolve at least 6 area out of 12 area, at least with Assam, to settle down. So this will give impetus to all our developmental projects. This will give our definitions. This will give our outlining and a roadmap, and that is where I'm very hopeful that this is going to bring. And another aspects, as I already thought that I would like to speak in the context of the economy. See, we have talked about the figure, we have talked about the investment, we have talked about the GSDP. What we have to talk about today as an economy of the Meghalaya is the socio-cultural value system as an economic catalyst. Why I'm saying the social cultural value system? Because we have to understand Northeast is a cultural meltdown, pots, hotbed. Here, socio-cultural value system is so strong. Any economic intervention cannot have its impact or the policy penetration until unless socio-culturally value system we are able to address. For example, property right, village council, our district council, our traditional heads, our rural populations, and their level of understanding about the development. Until unless we are not able to intervene and not able to reach out this socio-cultural value system, I think no amount of economic intervention policy is going to really reach to the grassroots, because people will not accept with the open arms. And I think that is where the policy failed for last 40 plus years, 45 years, what I feel. And again, next one is the community aspirations and the resource sharing. Here, the moment we are designing any policy, any prescriptions, we have to see that whether the community is connected or not. As rightly mentioned by one of the panelists, that railway, what state is in favor of. Last time, central government wanted to mine uranium, but community aspiration somehow is not well in sync. So I find that there is a gap between the economic policy designer and the people who are in the helm of the affairs and the people who are the last mile receivers. There has to be a connectivity. So I think the whole idea of one size fits all, the economy policy of the pan-India is not very rightly, replicable in the context of the Northeast. So here community aspirations, finding out and their discussion and confidence building is very, very important. And we also have to understand that resource sharing is so important in our context of the Meghalaya, because many property and the resources that estate is going to use it as a real value for the development lies with the public, because still private property is a big agenda, resource sharing is a big agenda, and as my friend rightly said, that we are not having an airport, even a landing, and we have to understand what is plaguing that airport coming from the Umroi, because that is because of the land acquisitions. And where is the land acquisition? Community, people, private property. So we have understanding that this development has to go down into the sentiment of the people and the community, that we are doing this one for the community, doing this one for the state, and every stakeholders are going to reap the benefit. It is not that few people, contractors, few people, investors simply come and invest and they leave out thinking that, okay, one particular thing I have created and community does not gain from it. That kind of a policy and that kind of a formulation is not going to work in Meghalaya. And again, adaptation to the various system and policy implementation.
Krishna,
We need
speed
to,
up actually.
yes,
Krishna, you have to little speed up actually.
Yes.
Yeah, because you have to end. So
I will just sum up quickly, sir.
Yeah, please sum up.
Then adaptability to various system and policy implementation, accountability. Because many policy, many programs previously was very much beautifully put on paper and put on the file, put into practice. Stones were laid down and the ribbons were cut, but there was no accountability and there was no policy implementation, last mile success. Nobody was bothering. So program implementation and accountability has to go in hand if you want the economic policy, economic program and the economy of Meghalaya to better up. Then comes the regional disparity and isolations. So though now center is doing beautifully inclusive policy. Lot many programs and policy are reaching out, but in many occasions, this particular policy is still find that they are not implemented right with the impact and the soul that need to be holistically more put on the field, and people should not feel isolated that this is the Pan India program, not a Meghalaya program. And the next one is the last two. I think I'll be last two only I have security and ILP. See, economy of Meghalaya will be many a time. Why this one railway did not come? Why we are finding that there is a problem with the outsider or problem with the non-indigenous people coming to the state? Why investors are shying up? These all questions is basically a basic questions of the security and ILP. And the economic decision definitely cannot override the security and ILP issue, because this also need to be tackled. For example, if no ILP, then you have to convince. If there is a security other measure, then you have to convince. Then only people will be, happy with any program and policies. They will not be feeling that they have been bypassed or they have been hijacked in the name of development. At the end of the day, we have the policy, we have the programs, but we lost great chunk of our peace. So that is there. And next is pressure group. We all understand economic programs, everything. Without the support of this bodies and NGOs, putting them on board, it is not going to materialize, because any program that we flag, there is a pressure group and NGOs coming to the fore. Why? Because we are not building that kind of a liaison and the bridging. So I think that kind of a social cultural value system, pressure group in the Northeast is a very, very vibrant culture and vibrant, body. They need to be taken and handhold into all kind of a developmental program. And I find that presently we are doing that. And we are able to handhold, we are able to negotiate, we are able to discuss, and therefore we are able to, make certain, possibility of ice breaking. So therefore, I would say that socio-cultural value system, apart from the other technical and the arithmetic parameters, I call it many a time in my discussion, this arithmetic parameter can be taken care, but investment, policymakers, people, participations, social acceptance. I think if all these aspects we are able to address, I think development is already starting, and we will not be far when we will be achieving what we have designed and we wanted. So with this, sir, thank you so much. I think so much to speak, and I've already rushed through the slides. I wanted to speak a lot, but time paucity. So thank you very much for giving me opportunity, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Krishna. That was a wonderful presentation with a lot of insights and very, very optimistic about the future. Good, very nice. I keep my comments reserved on your presentation, maybe towards the back end. I know when I go for my chairman's remarks. So with this, friends, we come to the presentations, all the three presentations. Now we can take a couple of questions from our valued audience who are there itself, our participants, because I hope actually all these three presentations are raised. And in fact, I was going to the chat box, a lot of comments also have come. So the floor is open for interaction or questions, reflections on issues on any of the presentation, or one can take it up also together. So it's open. And Professor Ansing, it's also, I think, over to you. If you would like to speak something and give some comments or reflections, most welcome.
Yeah, I must say these are excellent presentation, excellent. And within 95 minutes, we have come to know what Meghalaya is all about, the challenges Meghalaya faces. Otherwise, we are just left with reading something in the Wikipedia or in the articles or in the conference, get some bird's eye view. But the type of speakers that you chose as your panelist, they've given us a complete and a beautiful picture, I must say, and must thank you for selecting this panel. There are a couple of questions, and some of them are good questions. I leave it to your judgment and to your panelist. But I've always wondered, and my question is a very simple question. I've always wondered, such a rich landscape, Scotland of India, such a beautiful forest cover, and so much of diversity, different tribes, then urban areas, then and the weather. Of course, they call it the wettest part of India, and Cherrapunji is nearby. But I've always wondered why why has this not been tapped so far? There's so much of potential for tourism, also lots of potential for electricity generation. And I think there's so much of scope for growth that I always wonder why it's not been explored more. But I leave it to you. Your presentations were so beautiful. Mm, Really not much to add or ask.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think any one of you, maybe I think either actually Benjamin, or Krishna, or
Dr.
any one of
Panda,
you.
can I butt in for a minute?
Yeah, just a minute. Actually, let me ask one of the panelists to answer to one of the very pertinent questions which Charan Singh has asked, and thereafter I will come back to you, sir. So, Benjamin, would you like to, because tourism came,
Yes.
would you like to answer? Yeah.
Yeah. Since the matter relates to
I think we lost contact with Benjamin. Dr. Benjamin, are you able to hear me? Okay. I think we'll come back to him. So in the meantime, Krishna, would you like to answer to the question that
Yes,
Dr.
yes,
was asked? Yeah, very briefly.
yes. That is, sir, exactly in my presentation, I spoke about the intent and the institutional
Sir, can you hear me?
seriousness.
Sir, can you
Institutional
hear me?
seriousness
Yeah, Benjamin,
and
we'll come
the
back to you. In the meantime,
stakeholders'
actually, there is a
Okay.
problem.
participations.
We have come to
We
Krishna.
found that
I'll come back to you.
in the last, two government, when we were in the field and when we understood the pulse, we got a theory like as we have been hearing, Garibi Hatao and Garibi Bhagao. So that kind of a context we found in Meghalaya also. So because there was a lack of coordinations, lack of political will, and lack of social connect with the economy. That's why I said that there has to be a catalyst, social value system that needs to be connected. That is why people will accept with the open arms, and they will accept you because you are doing for good. But so far, what we have been doing, the kind of a prescription, they went down, they were told this is going to work, we are going to do it. There was no social participation, social confidence building. The stakeholders' participations was not there. So that always saw that this is something like a thrust down from the top, and they were not finding that it is their own projections, their own participatory development goal.
Perfect.
They say that this is somebody's design will be thrust upon us.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, Benjamin,
Yes.
just quickly finish up. I think
Yes,
we lost
yes.
contact with you.
So there was some problem with the network just now. So
Yeah,
sorry.
please.
I would like just to answer Professor Charan Singh what he said, like he was wondering. See, so in Meghalaya, we have a very strong setup of local governance. Governance at the village level or the locality level, which we say Dorbar. And here the land tenure system is such that land is and by the, you can say by the community as a whole. Here we use the word Raj, but to make it simple for everyone in the group, it's like land is owned by the community, this large community. So unless if the community agrees to any government intervention, the government intervention will not work. The same thing has happened with acquisition of land for expansion of the airport, like Sir Krishna said a while back. So in tourism also the same thing happens. The clan, the private ownership, the community ownership of land is so strong over here that if the community, the Dorbar, we use the word Dorbar. Dorbar means like assembly of the village. If the Dorbar does not agree, then it does not happen. Like for example, from the government, we have schemes for community-based tourism. Very good. They will give you money. Very good. They will skill the people. Very good. But if the community does not agree, it is not going to happen. I will cite a very simple example. There's a certain part of Cherrapunji, which we now call Sora. There's a part of Sora now where there's a certain cluster of villages, without taking any names, which are fighting over revenue and profit sharing out of tourism. Because they are fighting, the entire tourism activity in that particular part of Sora, Cherrapunji, is being stopped altogether. So this is what actually we are looking at in the context of Meghalaya. It is not only about the government saying we want to do this. Doesn't matter if you want to do it. If the local community, the local governance does not want to take part, you cannot do anything about it. And that is where there has to be a change in mindset. The mindset of the people. Unless the mindset changes in Meghalaya, it is very difficult to have this thought of that if the government says we'll bring this intervention, it's going to happen straight away. You need the community. That's why before you think of investing money, first of all, invest on the community. So I hope that answers Professor Charan Singh to a certain extent.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, there are two questions. In fact, actually, I think it was Professor MP Vejbarua or somebody was asking a question, and Professor Satish Verma has, in fact, actually raised very valid issues. So, can I come to, I think the gentleman, I don't know, is it Professor MP Vejbarua or somebody else was asking something?
Yeah, it was me.
Yeah, please, sir, go ahead.
Just, I'll take just 2 minutes, okay?
Yeah, please go ahead.
First of all, I thought, I mean, all the presentations despite being great, I think missed one point to explain to the people who are not familiar with Meghalaya that the state is mountainous and that creates some peculiarity. I will not say challenges. So for instance, Veronica mentioned everything is costlier there. It's partly because of, it's mountainous and so travel and transport is difficult. But this mountainous region is actually endowed by nature in many different ways. One is the minerals, the other one is very good climatic conditions for horticulture, and other one is a tourism capital. We have seen that tourism capital has been exploited, I mean, utilized to some extent, and also about horticultural potential has been utilized to some extent, but then that can be really scaled up. But the other one is minerals. While exploiting the minerals, they have really created a havoc, because it is an environmental havoc, particularly the coal exploitation. Not only in Meghalaya, it has spilled over to Assam also. And many of you have spoken about the institutional deficits, which is extremely important. Benjamin also said, Bhagirathi also talked about. The cadastral thing has been totally, it is really in the back burners. It has never come to the fore. And as a result of which, mining was free for everybody, and that has created a lot of problems. Now, why trains are not wanted? Because it's a problem in the entire Northeast, but I think it's slightly more acute in Meghalaya. That's people are very, they are very fearful of, the outsiders coming and swarming and whole thing. So we need to have protections for local people, but at the same time, I mean, if it is a state which want to thrive on tourism, you cannot be fearful of the people who are come from outside. Like you said, 15 lakh tourist village. I mean, if you go to Goa, if you go to Himachal, or for that matter Switzerland, you find they are full of tourists, but that doesn't create those kind of problems. So I think it's a mindset and social development which are really slow moving things, but the policies are needed more for socially opening up the society, and somebody telling them that you have no fear of losing your land and identity, but these are the opportunities we need to exploit. Otherwise, there is going to be a problem. Sorry for taking longer
Wonderful.
than I expected.
No, thank you so much. Well said, Professor Vejbarua. I think it was basically more a reflection rather than a question. So we end up there itself. Wonderful reflection and intervention. Now, Professor Satish Sharma has raised some valid questions, and I am just reading it out. Maybe any of the panelists can take it up. Otherwise, I will answer it during my chairperson's concluding remark. So he said, in this context, I would draw the observation Meghalaya's economy, as the speakers say, has performed poorly even more than a decade, but in the recent past has posted a very high growth rate of 9% per annum. In this context, I would draw observations from the speakers on, number one, political stability in the state, which of course Krishna has answered. Business environment, state government's market-oriented initiatives, state being highly dependent on the public sector, and fourth, ease of doing business, and fifth, social tension, etc., or some other factors that have, in fact, proved or that has caused problems for the state economy. So, any one of you, I think, can take it off. Benjamin or Krishna, would you like to, or Kapala,
So
Veronica?
it's okay. So you can. So it's okay. So you can also answer this. It's all right, sir.
Okay, Krishna?
Yes. See, I think that very much.
Briefly, one or two. Yeah. See, you
yeah.
have already answered about political stability. I think
Yes.
political. See, Meghalaya historically was prone to political instability. For the
Yes.
last 5 years, we have been observing, political stability, some kind of political stability coming in. So
Yes.
we do not know its sustainability, but we hope it should be sustained. So that's what actually on the political stability front. Business environment. This is again a big question. I think all of you have raised it, particularly Benjamin also has raised this problem. Business environment. I think let me just end it up. I think if you want to say something, Krishna, you tell it. Otherwise, in my concluding remarks, I will bring, I think, answer to some of these questions that Professor Sathishwaram has raised. Would you like to anything, any specific one or? Okay, so now then let's go. I think if there is any other question, Professor Charan Singh, should we, I know it's already time, or we can take one or two questions. Sir, you are, mute. Yeah.
Professor, I'll leave it to you.
Okay.
Totally, it's going out so well and so enriching. So I leave it totally to you. I'm open to your
Thank you.
convenience.
So we can take one or two questions also, or reflections if there are. So any of our valued panel, participants would like to? No, I don't think so. There are some reflections.
Sir,
Yes.
may I?
Yeah,
Yes.
please, Veronica. Yeah,
So while I was presenting, there are a number of comments and questions in the chat box. So I'd like to respond to
You
some
may
of
not
these.
respond to each one of them, but then there are,
Yeah.
you
So,
can, yeah, go ahead.
one question regarding the source of data. See, I use official statistics. Regarding the income, I use the data from the National Account Statistics and employment mostly from PLFS, and except those where I have mentioned the census. So in agriculture, it is decreasing. Please explain the reason. So agriculture throughout the years, it's not that it has shown negative growth. I mean, the share of agriculture in the state income has declined, which is the trend in case of all states and overall. However, because its growth rate is lower, that's why its share in the state income has declined. Then there is a question regarding high growth in which sector. This I did not present due to paucity of time. I could not present everything, but all sectors are growing. But the service sector as well as the tertiary, the secondary sector are growing at about 6% per annum throughout, right from 2011-12, and agriculture has grown at a slower rate. Then I mentioned that the kind of growth which we have is not inclusive because it excludes substantial portions of the population. We have substantial vulnerable sections in the population. So this kind of growth is not sustainable. So I did not use the meaning of sustainable development in its technical term, but a layman's understanding of what is sustainable. If people are not included, they will not be able to purchase goods and services that are being produced. So naturally, that will, the demand will be less, and so it will not sustain the growth. And also, if our youth are not employed, it will lead to a lot of social problems like miscreants and many other things. So prices are high in overall, not just of specific products. Overall, the general price level is higher in Meghalaya. So these are some of the questions that I would like to to
Give us,
answer. And
yeah.
yes, the points raised by Professor MP Besbarwa are well noted. I agree. I totally agree. And also the points that Professor Satish Verma had also mentioned, yes, these are all well taken, and I agree to some extent. But I don't think we have much time to elaborate on this. Perhaps Professor Charan Singh should organize another webinar where we will discuss specific issues in detail. Thank you.
Yeah, that's we'll take one more intervention. I think it was Sonu Kumar. So he has raised his hand. Is it Sonu Kumar? Did you raise your hand, Sonu Kumar? Maybe by mistake. Okay. Yeah, now that it's not there. Okay. So I think there is no other intervention. Then Professor Charan Singh, with your due permission, let me give my chairperson's concluding remarks. And then is there anything from your side to be said, Dr. Charan Singh?
Yeah, after you have concluded, then
Okay,
I'll
fine.
just make announcements for the
One
next
thing
week.
I would like to, Charan sir.
Yeah.
Panda sir.
Krishna, yeah, briefly.
Yeah.
Krishna.
One thing I would like to flag through this platform.
Yeah.
I think this regional disparity and isolation Meghalaya has been experiencing for a long time, in the sense that there has been a gap between the perception and the isolation for Meghalaya, including the Northeast. And one example I would like to give, if you say Shillong, people would say Shillong, and people, geographically, they are not able to connect. I being born and brought up Shillong, I knew where Punjab and where Karnataka lies. So this is a mental, discourse that need to be, across, planning and across economic policy has to be percolated down, that how one economy and how one region get isolated and, disparity is befallen on them. And then later we want a kind of a policy prescription that we want to fit all one program for everyone. So that is the reason why the fear factor for the policy, fear factor for the programs, and with the outsider elements and the social participations, because the economy, before doing the money pouring down, social investment is so important in the Northeast. That particular aspects we have forgotten, and there is where we need a gap to be filled up.
Fine.
So I think through this platform, people will definitely understand where Meghalaya is and what the North is all about, and what is the aspiration of the Northeast, and how we need to be connecting with the Northeast in order to bring them onto the pan-India frame and the format.
Well
Thank
said.
you, sir.
Well said, Krishna. Okay, so now let me conclude by just giving this chairperson's last words. I think all the three presentations, they have brought out the different issues of development very poignantly. At the end of the day, I think we have reached one conclusion, and where we have all agreed, is that the institutional factors are very, very important when it comes to development of the Northeast. I would say this is what Krishna has said. This is what also I think Benjamin has said, and I personally feel, I think that's very, very important, which Krishna was telling in terms of social capital, building that social capital is very, very important in this part of the country. Now, when you look at the economy of Meghalaya at this juncture, there is a lot of elements of hope, which 5 years down the line was not there itself. And that's basically because today we say capital is not that much a problem. But then 5 years down the line, there's a huge problem having capital. So that's one positive thing which has happened. Then the other thing is infrastructure. I think in some dimensions, some indicators of infrastructure, it's yet to come up to the national average, but I think it's approaching towards the national average in many indicators of development, and couple of indicators it has surpassed the national average also. So there has been tremendous improvement of infrastructure, I think, in the whole Northeast, And Meghalaya is also going to be a beneficiary of that because it's not far off from Guwahati and other parts of Guwahati. Even Tura part also is connected to Assam's, many parts of Assam. So infrastructure things are happening, which was not happening, I think, 8-10 years back. So infrastructure is happening. Innovations, another important thing for, I think, development, entrepreneurship is coming up gradually. So that's not a big, I think that's the things are happening in that front. Policy, yes, happening. Things are positive in the front of policy and appropriate policy making. Of course, a lot needs to be done there itself, but then it has started actually, calibrating itself. But then the problem is actually, I was telling earlier that the best thing to understand, contextualize the developmental dynamics of Meghalaya is under this PEEP, what I was telling about the PEEP architecture. The finance, infrastructure, innovation, institutions, establishment, and policy. The PEEP, I think, architecture. In that architecture, we are hopeful of now finance. We are hopeful of infrastructure. Things are happening. In innovations, things have also started happening. Policy, as I said, catching up, getting calibrated. But problems are two things. One is the institutions. When I say institutions, it's all including the government and the formal and the informal institutions. Mindset, I think one of the most important institution happens to be mindset, which Benjamin was talking about. That mindset needs to be calibrated, needs to be pro-development. And that's broader, it comes under the broader concept of social value system, which Krishna was talking about. So that needs to be taken care of, that needs to be calibrated to, I think, conform to the requirements of modern development, of course, without compromising the necessity of protecting the environment and also the cultural fabric of the state. So a lot needs to be done with respect to the the institution front, formal as well as informal. If property rights are not well defined, I think through government, community, civil society collaboration, I think on market collaboration, we can create a system where property rights can be taken care of. If the transaction costs are high because of enforcement contracts being high, the cost of enforcement contract being more, so it could be taken care of by, I think, some kind of a calibrated collaboration amongst all the four important stakeholders in the development space. So the problem is with respect to institutions, the problem is with respect to the establishments. As it stands today, the four important establishments, the government, the market, the community, and the civil society, I think they mostly run parallel to each other. What's required is a calibrated convergence. And who will do it? The primary responsibility of bringing that calibration in the establishment space rests on the government, because the government is the most important driving force as it exists today in the context of Meghalaya, or for that matter, the whole Northeast. So I think we need to bring in critical developments, critical improvements in our institutional setup arrangement and in our establishment arrangements, as I have just said with all of you. And finally, let me end it off by quoting, this is more appropriate in this context, one of my favorite poet, I think S.W. Longfellow. So Longfellow said, let the dead trust no future, however pleasant. This is very apt in the context, appropriate in the context of Meghalaya's economy. Trust no future, however pleasant. Let the dead past bury death. I think Meghalaya had a past because of partition, because of its geography. So let that past be dead. Let's not go into that past. So let the dead past bury its dead. Act in the living present. The present is living and there is a hope. Let's act on this living present. Then PEEP within PEEP. I was talking about the PEEP architecture. So I am just modifying a little, I think, Longfellow's lines. So instead of actually calling it heart within, I said PEEP within. So we need to have with this PEEP architecture within or with and God overhead. So I think that would be the ultimate mantra for the development of the economy of Meghalaya. So with these words, I once again thank all my three eminent panelists, Dr. Krishna, Dr. Benjamin, Dr. Pala, and then all our valued audience who have very gracefully, I saw actually it's almost like 90 people were there itself, present itself. And particularly, I think Professor Charan Singh, I think who has been the brain behind whole arrangement, the whole discourse, and bringing us together. And then I think the way he has organized this whole webinar, I think it speaks a lot. And that's what exactly we require. That's what actually the cooperative federalism, which the Prime Minister has talked about. In fact, Professor Charan Singh, by organizing, bringing us together, I think this is an arrangement of having cooperative federalism in real sense of the term, in real sense of the practice. So thank you so much, Professor Charan Singh, for giving every one of us an opportunity. It's over to you for your final words.
Thank you very much, Professor Panda. This was really a feast. A state next to us, and we did not know so much about it. We did not know the challenges it faces. We did not know the political compulsions and the social norms that political ambitions can only translate unless there are social acceptability for that. And that's why the pace of development has to be very carefully calibrated. It just can't happen because somebody thinks about it. Each one of the panelists, I think you had handpicked, and they were so appropriate. I want to thank them. I want to thank you for bringing them to us. And I really feel very enriched after this discussion. A part of our own country, and like, in North India, anything which is south of Gujarat used to be Madras. I think anything east of Bengal was not known to us. And now that we are talking to each other and we are realizing how much brothers and sisters we are, how much commonality we have, how much of a family we are, now those things are emerging so clearly. And we can't be Viksit without with anyone lagging behind. So what we are planning in the month of November, we are planning a state conference where we are going to be writing to the Secretary of the State to please come to Delhi and be part of the conference. And we'll all the participants who have been in our webinars from each state, we are also going to invite them over to come and participate. So you will see there'll be a good collection of people here. And then we are going to listen to each other. There'll be every state will have something or the other to say, the place on the panel. And then we are going to do thematic discussions. We are also going to do regional discussions, and then we are going to also look at some aspects which we think for Viksit Bharat are very necessary. So we are in the process of organizing a conference in November, and I'll let you know towards the end of November. We are planning, or in the very first week of December, we'll let you know. So the print will be available on our website by tomorrow noon, and I'm sure everybody is going to use it for educative purposes, for even discussing that what is happening in different parts of our country, how unemployment is so high, how inflation is so high. What do you do when the same item is available on the plains for X amount, but in the mountainous region for X plus something? So I think these are important issues which we in Delhi, I'm sure many of us are not aware of. I do look up the CPI data for the shadow monetary policy, and I always see lots of variation in the price level state by state, rural and urban. But what Professor Bezbarua brought up is very right. There's additional cost for it to reach the mountains and be marketed in the mountains, and those need to be discussed. We really can't have more transport there. So I think each one of you has brought out such rich thoughts for us to really learn. and for policymakers to learn from there and, if possible, devise a policy. So we will have the presentation, we'll have everything on our website tomorrow, and I'm sure many of us are going to use it. I'm going to use it to disseminate to many others with my own points. So I'm really thankful to you for that. Next week, it is 75 years of National Sample Survey, and we have a book being released on the Indian National Sample Survey by Gurcharan Manna from NCAER. And the session will be chaired by Professor Mahendra Dev, who's chair of the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council. So I would like to invite you to be part of this discussion also, 75 years Indian National Sample Survey. And week after that, we have Ian Pulse from the World Bank speaking to us on the World Economic Report. So, and that will be around 6 p.m. on September 5. So next week, August 29, we have National Sample Survey, and September 5, we have Ian Pulse on the world economic situation. He is going to be basically talking about FDI. So I would like to invite you, kindly pencil it in your diaries, and I'd like to invite you for both the sessions. With that, once again, thanks to Professor Panda and his team. Thanks to the esteemed audience staying back with us on a Friday. Have a great weekend and look forward to meeting you next Friday. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. It's wonderful having this webinar.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.